This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Windows Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?
And welcome to the show. I'm your host, Colin Thompson, joined today by two extraordinary athletes who I've got the pleasure of having in my company today. None other than professional powerboat racers, Mr. Stephen Bridges to my extreme left, and in the middle here is his teammate, Mr. David Selley. And of course, Stephen is the team owner of Team Bermuda, S25, and the team owner and throttle man, and Mr. Selley here is the driver. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's awesome to have you here. I've been excited, been waiting for this moment. I know you all have been busy, and what a phenomenal year. You're coming off your first full season, is it, Steve, at that level? All right, and these gentlemen, of course, are racing overseas professionally in the United States, and they're here, and they're going to tell us all about this extraordinary opportunity and all the wonderful experiences they've had thus far in their ongoing careers. So, Stephen, just bring us up to date on this year. I believe this was your first full year, right? Correct?
Full year, yes.
Yes, and you're competing at what events are you competing at, or level?
It's the S class, and well, there's two associations, RWO and also P1. Those are the main two that we support. It starts in May, end of April, right up to November, just before October, I guess. And then it's the Worlds, which is a separate Key West, which we just came back from. That's a whole separate race. There's no points for that. They call that the World Championship. And then all the other races are for like the National Championship. So for the season.
Which is all sanctioned under American
Powerboat Association. Yeah.
So
So we do about seven races this year. There are more on the circuit, but us as a S class vote on which ones we want to go to. And we try and do around about 7, 8 a year. So it's a lot to, go to a lot of places all over the world, all over the states that I've never been to before, like all the way up to the lakes and Lake of the Ozarks and Michigan City and places I probably never ever go in my life, right? So it's just pretty cool to see different places and travel. It's a lot of work, but it's still fun.
I'm sure we're going to get into all that in just a moment, but just recapping the year, you've obviously, although you're still feeling your way out, pretty new on the circuit, you've already enjoyed some success. What were some of those successes you've experienced this year?
Yeah, so the very first race in the marathon, we did well. We were third. So we got a podium, but we ended up actually getting second because one of the boats got protested and they got disqualified. So second, and then we ran really well in Lake of the Ozarks. We were in third, and right at the last, another podium we should have had. And literally at the last lap, we lost, it was an electrical issue inside the boat. Went from third to fifth or sixth or something like that. So, and then Sheboygan, one of the places I've never been before. We got a third for that one too, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so 2 podiums, should have been 3. And some decent finishes as well. Yeah, just
Wow.
there. So out of 14 boats, there were 14 boats in Key West, but there was an average of anywhere between 10 and 12, I guess, for the season.
Wow.
Yep.
And David, what did that do for your confidence? I mean, you're at the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you just try to hold a pretty wheel and not scrub too much speed, but being it is a stock class, which is great, small things are huge, right? So if someone gets a jump, how do you catch them up if they don't mess up? So stock's great, and everybody, usually complies with that, but a small mistake with whether it's setup on the wheel or anything like that is so costly. If you do get the jump, you can get clean water and you can dictate what you want to do, but to fall back early or have any kind of issue, you're clawing. So it's tough. It is tough. It's not easy. I didn't think it would be easy. I just didn't think it would be this hard. That makes sense.
And of course, this has always been a dream of yours, hasn't it, to race professionally?
In all honesty, I can't say because it was so hard to reach that. How could you possibly race in the States? You know how many things need to come to, like, my dream wasn't even S class. I kept it realistic, A class. Like, one day I could afford an A class boat, you know what I mean? Work hard and you'd be able to go to Ferry Reach and run an A class boat. S class was just totally, how does that happen? You know, so I'm just, timing is everything. So just fortunate.
Wow. Now you say it's S class, and you can answer this. The S class. I just want to break it down.
Pretty good way
So you
to
may
do
not
it.
understand. You know,
They
is it
chase-
like
they chase them down. Yep.
sort of
Yeah,
like a
but they
one
just couldn't get
design?
there.
You
Team
know,
Bermuda
a
off
class
the
restriction
podium.
enforced
Start the
here,
year.
and there's only so
Yabba
much you
dabba
can do
doo.
with the setup. Is that correct?
Yeah,
One design.
that's not a one design. The hole, you can run any hole you
Nicely.
want, be a certain size boat, and it's also you have to have the same motors. So everybody has a stock motor that you buy right off the shelf from Mercury. That's why it's called stock class. But there's like what, 3 different holes in our.
It used to be a lot more.
It used to be a lot more, but there's 3 or 4 different holes in our class. So like the Victory boats, they run really, really good. Majority of the boats were Doug Wrights.
The standard is pretty well what we had, the 32 dog right.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the maximum width for the tunnel width, that is based off of the boat that we're in.
And you can rig the boat any way you want to, put the boat the weight anywhere you want to, but the motor has to be stuck, and they check that after every single race.
You can do whatever you want to the bottom of the boat. There's certain limitations with, you can't have jack plates that are hydraulic. Most of the stuff, you set it on land at the dock, and you can't touch anything once you leave the dock.
What about the props? You get to alternate.
Yeah,
props.
props is a huge thing, so you gotta hope you pick the right one. Yeah, you can.
Some of these guys have got a truck full of
Yeah,
props.
some guys have got 30, 40, 50 props. So we got, 4.
It made our
So-
decision making easy at
Yeah.
first, but we had 2 or 3 sets. And
Yeah, and that's all we had.
Yeah.
But that makes a huge on setup. What prop you're going to run, whether you're going to accelerate, go faster, top end speed, more control, better handling. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
Florida can be tricky too. Like, it seems like every afternoon around 2 o'clock, it starts picking up. Then you see everybody changing props or moving weight, and then sometimes it drops out, or sometimes it just stays there. So it's a money call, man.
you're literally changing props sometimes just before you get lifted over.
Minutes.
I was going to ask, is there a time limit for that? Once, they say, okay, cutoff time, you can't adjust now, the rule.
No, there's no real rule. I mean, I'm seeing them changing props in the water. They've been lifted overweight. Yeah, and
You don't have time to get on the crane. The race is about to start, and guys are swimming.
Yep.
Wow. That's something, because somebody could get an advantage at the last 11th hour,
Big time. Yeah.
They're gonna dive, but you may not have the time.
Or overthink it. Sometimes you got to go with your gut.
I've been in that spot. We were kind of like, it's picked up. Should we do something different?
Every
And you're guessing, whether you should change it or not, and so.
Wow.
And then we're still learning too on what prop's going to run the best and where the weight's going to run the best. And like even in Key West, just coming back, I think we probably should have had a little bit more weight in the boat, but we learned. So next time we know.
Yeah, well, it's all going to be a learning experience, isn't it? You're just still feeling your way out. Yeah. And of course, your boat, we was talking about hulls. You've got a catamaran. I like the boat. I love catamaran. I think it's so awesome. And, the paint scheme, all the decals represent the 411 Bermuda on the hull, I think it's so awesome. Why catamaran? Why do you choose a catamaran?
It's what I raced here in the last couple of years. And I raced S class for, I don't even know how many years here now. But I just always enjoyed the catamaran, the cats, watching them run. They're animated, they're loose, they're out of control, and
pretty animated.
Yeah, it's hard. They're very reactive. So it's just always fun to watch, always fun to be in. Keeps you on your toes.
Well, it certainly gets my attention, because I noticed that you're both separated. You're in separate cockpits, and you're enclosed.
Yep.
Which people like me who are claustrophobic would have a nightmare.
People were like, "Can I see the boat? Get up in it." Oh, okay, get out quick.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a change for me. I've always ran an open cockpit boat, even here in S class. So to be in a cockpit, I like it now. I'm used to it now. I think it's better for us, but it was a lot to get used to. It's so much quieter. You don't feel the breeze on you. You can't turn around and look at the motor.
It's more feel
you're-
for the seat
yeah,
instead of like
It's different.
feeling the air or whatever.
But it's we've gotten used to it now.
That's how we're sitting in the boat. He's on the left side, I'm on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's it like, when you're race day, when you're in the cockpit and you're trying, how fast are these boats are going now?
Testing, we see some good speed on the lake, but racing, to anywhere between 100 and 110,
Yeah.
112 racing.
Oh,
I mean, we've had the boat up to 119, but that's on a calm water, and you're not going to do that.
It's in a lake.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
testing
amazing.
in Mills Creek, but a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
It's tight.
But yeah, butterflies first thing. He loves to have a little he has to go to the
He's
bathroom a
choking
few
and
times.
gagging and carrying on and taking off.
It's to me.
You do it to yourself, so you got to just go find a quiet place, get some fresh air,
And the problem is,
get away from everybody.
most of the time,
People are like all in your head, right?
we're the last ones to race in most of the events, so it's waiting all day.
It's like on the island race.
That's the worst part.
You're just waiting. The wait kills you.
So when you start a race, how do you start side by side? How does it go? Or are you ranked and the staggered starts? How does it work?
Depends. Some associations that you pick, and that's your number that you get where you start. Sometimes they reverse the order. Where you started last time is where you're gonna, or where you finished last time. Sorry, is where you're gonna start. So it's different ways, but
Sometimes points.
sometimes it's on points. Key West, they told us we had to pick, so we picked cards, and that's where we started the first race. So it's different, but yeah, and unfortunately, we've had a rule. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, we've had a rule all season, and for quite a few years, there was a lot of accidents going into the first corner. So they wanted everybody to hold their line. You had to maintain your line going through the first corner.
If you're ahead or behind, you got to pretend. If you're 14th, you got to go around that
We've
turn
had a
and
couple
leave
bad
13
picks.
slots.
Last, second last, third last. So being on the outside, you got a lot of making up to do coming around the corner. Since, Key West, they changed that, and it was
Pretty good.
it was actually worked out pretty good.
As long as you have a boat lane. Because think of track and field running the whole race on the outside, you're not going to set any records, right? So if someone gets 13 lengths on you in one turn, how do you make it up? So it was tough holding your lane. I hope they stick with that, how it was in Key West.
And what about the wake that your rivals, your fellow competitors are creating, and you got to run the marker. How does you cope with that?
Makes it hard. It's like driving into a storm.
Mhm. Yeah, you try and get clean water, and that's how the starts are so crucial, and that's why everybody's just balls to the wall. It's like they want to get out front.
You would think there was $1 million on it.
Yeah, to get out front, to get clean water, but it does make a difference. It makes a difference. You get in somebody's rooster tail, you have a chance of flipping the boat because you're flying the boat to try and go as fast as you can. We've stood the boat up a couple times, crossing over a few times. It's like getting hosed down and stood, and you can't see.
Think your wipers not working on the highway.
As you down because you're in their wash. It's a lot. So you just want to try and get clean water as best you can.
You feel it, like if you're turning in someone's wake, it's on bubbles. The boat's trying to spin, right? So
Wow. So one, Steve's on the throttle, you're on the wheel. It's separated, so communication must be,
key.
Yeah,
key and constant.
The marching band, everything's got to be in time. There's a lot of things happening at the same time.
Yeah, if he's crossing over to another lane, he's got to tell me because I got to prepare the boat for it. So it's you got to talk back and forth for sure.
But man, it's
And coming into a corner and stuff like that, we're getting that down. We don't really have to talk much because we know to set the boat in, and he knows when to turn. So the less you do sometimes is better talking, but you do still have to communicate.
And the race courses, do they vary from event to event, or is it pretty standard?
Yeah, sometimes they throw a dog leg in there. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're shorter, depending on where you are. Like the Ozarks was, to me, similar to like racing inside of Grotto Bay and Ferry Reach. Calm lake, but the more laps, the more boats it starts whipping up, and it's just like anywhere else. But it was a tight track,
and we turn left on that track too.
Yeah,
most of the tracks we turn right.
Okay, and what's the distance on average?
A track's usually around 5 miles, give or take, and then the race will usually be around 50 miles, give or take.
And then the marathon, you said you did a marathon race as well, right?
No, that was in marathon.
What was it, a time race? One time race you did?
No, there's always laps. It's always a lap. Yeah.
Right. So what's it like? I mean, I've seen the video, I've seen the images, and there's big crowds out, and the helicopters and the coverage. I mean, it's so much such a electrifying atmosphere. What's it like for the competitors? Is it exciting?
I mean, yeah, you almost, yeah. If you're not 100% focused on that, what you're doing, forget it. You're gonna get wadded up. I mean, the only time we've noticed a helicopter is when we stood it up and the helicopter was like right there.
Pretty good way to do it.
So, but yeah, everything else is the crowd, the friggin' boats, the
You don't even,
helicopter,
you're not
everything.
paying attention.
Yeah, no,
So how did you stand up? What happened there?
just a little excited. The boat's animated. So if you wave wrong or anything like that, the boat in a flat, calm lake is, they call it 4-pointing, and the boat's literally, it's like standing on a piece of 2x4 in a football. Like the boat's almost like how a V-bottom will do that. The cat will do the same, but you gotta have trust in the boat and just hold it straight.
And Bridges.
Don't
Trust in Bridges.
Yeah.
I don't throw it.
In the early grade, that was my 100% trust is in him. I'm just going where he's telling me. I'm just point and shoot.
Right.
100% trust is in him. You don't just get in one of those boats with anybody.
Brilliant, brilliant. So has it been a big transition for you guys, or I should say, how has the transition been? Has it been pretty seamless?
You got to be humble, man. I mean, he's raced over 35 years, and we guys, I've raced my whole life, and watched racing and been a fan. I'm still a fan. Even sitting in the drivers' meeting with some of these guys, you're like, is this really happening? But yeah, it's just, it's incredible.
Is it a bit of pride? I'm sorry, it's good.
No, when you're saying the transition, it hasn't been that easy because we've never really raced together. We did one around the island?
Yeah.
In the S-class boat. And then, so it's trusting each other and learning from each other and feeling each other out. It's the boat's the new boat, different boat, being in a cockpit. It's a lot to sort of get used to.
The easiest thing to do would be to mess up. Like to finish with the wet side on the water is tricky. It's hard. And especially if you want to be competitive. So you got to kind of be willing to throw it all in the trash, which is the sad part. It's like, that would be such a terrible thing to do, but you can't think like that. You got to go out and go, man.
Amazing. And so it's been, it's been a big transition for you.
I would say
Adaption.
no diss to around the island. This is where all we ever wanted to do was race around the island, race in Bermuda, and that's great. And we would still, if we had the opportunity or a boat here, we'd sign up. But around the island race, you can hide. You got the harbor, you got sometimes North Shore is calm, and some of these races in the States, you can't hide. You're taking a beat and you're on the edge the whole time. You can't even breathe. It feels like, you can't ease up for a second.
So how did you get together? How did you, meet up or join forces for the around the island race?
It's kind of, I don't even, we were looking.
Knew each other, obviously.
Yeah, I was racing a little 6 horsepower junior boat, plywood, 1/4-inch ply, and he was running his 21 skater. Him and John Stevens used to do really well in that, very competitive. So I always looked up to these guys. So it's kind of ironic. I never thought I'd share a cockpit with you. So I'm, honored to do that. That's pretty cool.
And you won, didn't you? You win?
Yeah, we won. Yeah.
Around the island.
Yeah.
Was that a restaurant?
That was unexpected. That was a last minute deal. We threw that together that week.
We did. Yep. We had the boat. We weren't
Thanks,
gonna
Mr.
race.
Savage.
Yeah.
Everybody else involved.
And we said, let's do it. And it's literally last minute. Yeah. And we had problems. We had problems with the boat almost the whole way around. So it was nice to actually finish, but also win and come press across the line.
That's
pretty cool.
Big feather to put in your cap.
Yeah.
The big one here. And,
Yeah.
and local.
And with him getting in the boat, it was actually my brother. There was Aaron Sims would drive sometimes, and my brother Keith would drive, and they would share the drive. And so he got thrown out of the boat one year around the island and hurt himself pretty bad.
By dockyard.
And so he never he got back in the boat, but he never, I don't think he ever raced the boat again. So it was kind of like when we were putting this whole deal together, he was going to race. He was thinking about it. And then he decided not to. So he gave him a call and said, "You interested?"
Sign me up.
And he said, "Yeah, sign me up." So then he just went from there.
Yeah. Selley loves all that.
Yeah.
It looks like he's ready to go right now.
I'm ready to go back too after Key asked. I'm like, let's just.
So when you're in Florida, the environment, the courses, you just mentioned Ronnie Island race, and I always think about coming down the South Shore. You got the boilers there, the reefs, and you got to know the tides. When you can go over when you can't. The sandbar coming off a pompano, which is a tricky one as well. Do you have some of those obstacles over in Florida, or is it just
Getting out to the track, yes,
yeah?
but not the race course. Pretty much.
Some of these races where the pits are you can get lost
Yeah,
or break down, or we got
it's a couple miles.
we
Yeah.
hit debris and messed up a prop just getting to the race.
Wow.
Well, luckily that was coming back from the race, but you gotta have it's more deep in the States. Like
Yeah.
you gotta weigh in. You have to think about what fuel you're gonna burn to and from. Then they might have a couple of restarts. Bermuda's, I would say most of the time just put fuel in the boat. Obviously you gotta think about what you're doing in terms of setup and the conditions, but in the States it's a lot more technical. Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this to the
Pretty good way to do it.
team,
And
I'm
they
sure,
chase-
and
chase
getting
them down.
from event to
Yeah, but they
event,
just couldn't
and
get
you
there.
know,
Team
there's
Bermuda on
a
the
lot
podium.
of
Start
logistics, a lot
here.
of pieces to the
Yabba dabba
puzzle.
do.
What's it like? You show
Fourth
up
is
at
Celsius,
one
so they
venue.
moved up
What is
nicely.
to get around the circuit?
Luckily, Lorraine Bridges, his wife, just tells me what time I gotta be at the airport. And don't tell me the wrong day because I'll be there then. So as long as I'm there, she's got all the logistics pretty well planned out between her and Steven.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot behind the scenes. Thank God for her because she takes care of most of it. But just getting there, right? Plane tickets and then hotels, and then we got to drive to the event and get a hotel there or a house there, and come back and put the boat away and get a hotel at the airport before we come. It's a lot going
You
on.
just see the boat at the racetrack. You don't realize like the real danger is the traveling. Think of the time on the highway, right? Someone blows a tire or mechanical with the truck or the trailer or any like
Going to Lake of the Ozarks, we blew how many tires? 3 or 4.
I mean the weather makes up on the highway with the boat and everything. It's not
A
fun.
lot of. So a bunch of my mates will say, "Oh, you're enjoying what you're doing and living your life."
Yeah, we have a
You're
laugh.
partying on the weekends and racing boats. It's not quite like that. That's a lot of work going on. It's testing the day before.
It's work.
Washing the boat, cleaning the boat, getting the boat ready. But yeah,
But you have to
trade
do
it.
it.
But
Yeah.
exactly.
And meeting these deadlines, like you say, you
Yeah.
have to be there on time for this inspection and all
But
sorts of
the driver's meetings are 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. If you're 10 minutes early, you feel late.
Wow.
It's just a whole different deal.
And then what about the boat? I mean, the boat gets shipped around. How does that work?
We just tow it. We gotta
So you
got
tow
a
it? You
truck.
actually tow it?
Yeah.
we drive
Wow,
ahead.
I thought it may go on a container ship.
All the real deal, they just show up, they fly in, everything's done, tent set up, whatever. But we guys have to
Yep.
we make it all happen.
Drive.
See, we gotta get to the track. Might as well take the boat with you in the RV and
So there's like the race before the race and then the actual
Yeah.
race.
Yeah, we have a home base where the boat stays in Florida, and we'll drive it from there to the events and take it back.
Wow. And of course, we just touched on it. Obviously there's some other teammates behind the scenes that make it all happen. Who are some of those others involved?
Yeah, it's friends and family, and I mean they help us out big time. They come at their own cost, and we got a cool little crew. Sometimes we hardly have anybody at a race, and then we got too many people at a race. So, but yeah,
We pay a crew and they may not work as hard as a crew that really wants to be there for free on their dime, They care. Like these guys are diehards, man.
yeah, we're lucky to have those guys show up and help and watch the boat. And like when you go to the crane area, you need somebody driving the truck with the boat, and then you need 2 guys on the lines. And when it gets lifted, you gotta then receive the boat down on a floating dock, and then you're gonna have to move it from that to a dock so the next boat can get over. So it's a process of if you need the help.
Crew.
It's a process. So
Right.
guys are there to help us, thank God. And a couple times we're like, oh no, who's coming? We got like 1 person coming, and then all of a sudden 3 show up. I'm coming. So it's cool to have these guys helping us out. That's for sure. Got to thank them. Yeah.
And is it pretty costly to operate a team?
Oh yeah. I mean, you add everything up when it comes to
If you were to weigh up the winnings versus
yeah.
and
I mean, you
doesn't
get
make sense.
Not yet. You're still working with
Yeah, I mean-
you're working with it.
We, we,
we've got a
couple
second and third, and they're like, I think $2,000 was the highest. So that's like,
Don't tell them.
yeah, That's like, that kind of covers gas for the boat, I guess. So that's about
But
it.
if you
But,
take out a buoy, it's like $4,000
yeah,
just for the buoy.
What if you get penalized?
Yeah.
Hit the buoy?
yeah,
It's not that it costs that much. It's just trying to deter you from messing up the race,
Wow.
So between race fees and a buoy, you're out backwards out of the gate,
Wow.
yeah. It's expensive, and that's not even talking about if something breaks on the boat, right? So, you're always doing something to the boat to upgrade it, or
If you did
Kicks.
turn it over, if you're gonna turn it over, try to do it in the fresh water.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid you don't experience that. So what roughly what would it cost someone
In saltwater?
operate
Oh.
a team, to put it all together? Upright cost.
I don't know. If you were to start brand new, at least $500,000.
Wow.
Yeah, for the year, it's around 100,000.
What do you
Close
mean?
to it.
You
If you're
buy
lucky.
boats and crafts and all. Yeah,
Wow.
but there's no real limit. It's numbers don't end, right? So you do $1 million.
Yeah, if you have there's guys that have all those props, I'm sure.
Well, you know the deal. There's the buy-in, and then there's the to maintain it and to run.
Right.
You know.
So why powerboat racing, Bridges? What got you involved in this sport?
I don't know. I guess it's probably my dad. I grew up on the water. He always had a boat, fishing and stuff like that. And he took me down to Ferry Reach a bunch of times. He had a bunch of mates like Ken, Eddie Roke, and a bunch of guys down there racing.
All
All around. Yep, Anthony Mello. And as a boy, I just loved the smell of it. I loved the noise and the speed, and just loved it. And again, didn't think I'd ever have a chance, maybe even to, get a boat or own a boat. And for the first couple of years, I actually raced with a friend of mine, Jason Pimentel. We ran B class, raced a few other boats off and on here and there. And then had the opportunity to buy a 21 skater. Went partners with John Stevens. So still didn't own my own boat, but eventually we ended up getting a really good deal. I raced with Ricky Souza when he was racing the S class, barbed wire. And he wanted to get out. He wanted to sell the boat. So we were three of us kind of went in together and bought it, and just been going since. So one paycheck to the next. Yeah.
Certainly. And you, Selley?
Yeah, just
powerboat racers. Your name is synonymous with powerboat racing.
Yeah, I mean, just from a kid and just looking at photo albums and just loved it, just respected anybody that raced a boat. We used to play football and stuff like that, but I'd be playing football, dreaming about racing, so again, you don't even think you're going to get the opportunity, but maybe one day it's possible. Scott Lopes built a little wooden junior boat that we used to run, and then you just keep going from there. Richard Davidge has helped the Bermuda Powerboat Association immensely. He's pretty much pulled the weight for a lot of years, and bought a bunch of different boats to Bermuda. So we were fortunate to run some of his stuff and had some pretty decent results. I just always wanted to race, but then you got to win. You want to win again. Just keep going. We're not there yet, especially in the States. We're not there yet. We're just getting started.
I'm sure. And you're already looking ahead to next year.
Oh, yeah.
Looking to build on.
We got some plans for the boat in the off season, and you don't want to go into a season guessing or hoping. You gotta do all the work and you show up ready. You want midpoint next year to be in trouble with something, So just be 110% ready. That's how everybody else is. They're not sitting around. A lot of the guys are racing against. They're in a high performance boat every week, So that all plays a role too.
So next year possibly changes to the boat, new paint scheme, maybe a few more sponsorship decals.
I'll let
Yeah, definitely a new look for next year. That's for sure. And yeah, sponsors always needed. So yeah, hopefully we get a couple more nice sponsors to help us out. So it's not easy. So yeah,
It's the one boat, but I would say it's at least 50 people financially involved. And a lot of them I don't want my name on the boat. I don't want any recognition. Here you guys go. And
yeah, and I got to thank all the sponsors as well, because it's all local sponsors, right?
we don't have one
They don't-
U.S. sponsor.
So no, it's just
Dean Pink, who helps us out a lot every way he can. But it's all local sponsors, man. This is a huge working wheel. It doesn't work without one of the things. Everything is a huge part. So
What's it like, being an international team? Most of your competitors are from the United States, I would imagine. What's it like you coming on that turf, and what sort of reception you get from the home crowd?
at first, I mean, we've just been going to Key West for a long time. I've been a few times. My first year was around 2010. And there was only 2 S-class boats racing then. But it does, boat racing, there's waves, but it's on the rise right now. But at first they look at you like how we would look at some stranger down Ferry Reach. Who are these guys from wherever? I don't know, Barbados or whatever. Like, you don't know. You have to prove yourself. They don't know us from a hole in the wall. So I would say at first it was kind of anybody can get into it. What are you gonna do? People come and go all the time, right? So now they know his name, they know my name, the boat, the team. We've made a pretty decent impression. We had a lot of bad luck the first year.
We did, yeah.
You can people look at luck like it's only good luck. No, you can get a string of bad luck, and we had that. So we're on the backside.
Good people. They'll help you if there's something breaks or you need a part or something. Majority of them will just step in and help you out. So
You know the people you can trust,
yeah.
and who,
So it's a camaraderie.
Yeah.
Rob.
Well, and it's
You're all fierce competitors.
Yeah.
But you-
and even
family.
even when you're in the boat, obviously that all goes out the door. But you know who
that's for everybody.
to kind of watch because they're a little iffy, and you know the ones you can trust alongside, and the other one you might want to stay away from him a little bit because he's a ticking time bomb. You don't know what's going to happen with him over there. So
Yeah.
you get to feel everybody out, but it's still, like I said, they're all great people. Made a lot of new friends. I knew a lot of people already, but met obviously a lot more now. But yeah, we all get along and enjoy the companies and can have a beer afterwards, and it's all good.
Have a beer and then pack up and get ready for the next.
Yeah.
Take notes too. Like if somebody comes down on you or crosses you off hard or whatever, just take notes. You don't give them as much room next time. You race everybody kind of different.
And of course as you get more experience, you know how that competitor races,
Right.
Well, we would have a hard.
certain conditions, certain setups. So I'm sure it could.
Well, we were having a hard time with the starts, and it's sometimes if you're trying to be nice doesn't really work. They're trying to squeeze you out. We're just rookies to them, so they'll do their best to get rid of you to begin with. Make your life hard out of the gate. So you gotta.
They'll hit you. They'll bump you out of it for sure.
You deserve to be there. At a certain point, you feel like, okay, cool, now we belong here, type deal. You know what I mean?
And of course, now we have not one but two local boats, Bermuda boats.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Sternum,
I think it's great. I think
Martins.
maybe we egged that on a little bit. I know Andy would have wanted to race years ago, and they were putting a deal together. But it's awesome to see another Bermudian team. You can if that's something you want to do, you can sign up and enter and go see how you stack up.
Yeah, and maybe encourage others.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's awesome, and
we never thought we could do it.
you really get the home racers attention. Then they would say, okay, now floodgates open now.
Yeah, half of Bermuda was in Key West. It was like being in dockyard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
That was a
what's
lot.
that like?
lot of
that you feel pretty proud about that.
I do.
Yeah,
I
yep,
do, man.
for sure. And even everybody back home that's watching on TV and stuff, we know a lot of people here watching, right? So makes you feel good and to represent the island and try and do well. And we're proud from where we come from. So we're
He grew up with Louis Martins, who's the driver. of that
best
boat.
friends, and he's driving the boat. So
Okay.
it's just going to be a
Or friendly banter.
big learning curve for those guys, like it was for us too as well. So, but they'll get it. They'll get it down
It's just time.
So certainly, having that support gives you inspiration.
for sure.
Wow, and
I'm getting texts from people back home. Oh, we're going to watch it, and everybody's coming over to the house, and good luck. And that means a lot to us, right? So it's have the support from everybody back home. It's pretty cool.
what's the ultimate goal, for Team Bermuda? S25.
The top step.
Yep,
Yeah.
win the championship.
I mean, we got a second. We got a second in the APBA standings. Derek Simons won the nationals in the season, the national series points in 1988. Chris Marshall won a bunch. So we got huge, like Bermudians. Morris Korea did really well.
Mhm.
Bermudians that actually,
Craig Nisbet.
that made it out there did really well. So we got, aside from the Americans, we got big shoes to fill.
Wow.
So we're not there yet.
Mhm.
Right. So that's the mark.
Yeah,
The benchmark.
well, the answer is just work harder.
You got to be consistent. You got to finish every race. You got to be consistent. So, like in Key West, it's hard because there's 3 races in 1 week. So, you got to finish all 3. So you got to be careful on beating up your stuff, but you still want to run hard and be up the front. But, on a regular weekend, it's 1 race. So you just run as hard as you can.
But it's so close. Like, had Coco's Monkey not got the penalty they got, maybe they would have been world
They
champion.
might have been, yep.
And Billy Allen came like 4th or something.
They came fourth in the last race. Yeah.
Right, so it's accumulated, but we missed the Wednesday because there was a full blown hurricane that rolled through.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. I believe a few events.
Just Florida. If it's not one, if it's not a hurricane here, it's a hurricane there.
The last
Just
three,
constantly
actually.
dodging storms,
Yeah.
man.
Wow. Yeah, because I know that also delayed Andy and Martin
Yep.
debut.
That's right.
Yeah,
Twice.
Wow. So that's
But
that
even
was a nice. And
even
what was that like? I mean, you're all prepared, you're ready to go, and then Mother Nature has other thoughts in mind.
let's say the track's as big as this table, we could only test in a little spot like this, and the water was all white and whipped up, and so we didn't get much testing at all.
In Key West.
Yeah, in Key West. So, but it's the same as like a golf course.
Pretty good way to
Buddy,
do
so
it.
you just go with the
chase
setups, you
down.
know.
Yep. But they just
Just
couldn't get there.
we're just
Team
learning.
Bermuda
Everything's a
on
learning
the podium
experience.
to start
Yeah.
the year.
Learning gets
Yabba
expensive.
dabba do.
Yeah. So now off season now, like you
Fourth
said,
is
you're really looking
Celsius,
ahead
so
to
they
the
moved
new
up
year.
nicely.
When do you jump back in this thing? Physically, when do you get back out there, start testing again? When is the first race? Is all that confirmed yet, or still in the works?
Soon as possible.
I mean, the schedule is not out yet, and then we also, as a class, will vote on which races we want to go to. So that won't come out until the new year. But we're still already planning to do stuff and get out there to get the boat worked on and get it fixed and get some things done.
Hopefully January.
So, yeah.
January.
Yeah, and then normally the end of April is the first race, beginning of May, somewhere in there. So yeah, we'll definitely be up there a couple days before the test and make sure the boat's all ready to go and batteries are charged and all that good stuff. So yeah, so we got a couple months off, but want to get right back into it on January, start working on the boat and preparing for the season. And again, the wife's got to book hotels and all that. She likes to get all that done early, right? So as soon as the schedule comes out, we'll start preparing.
Well, certainly, I'm sure there's going to be some more exciting times up ahead, and we're all looking forward to that. And wishing you both, continued success
Thank you.
in your endeavors. And I'm looking forward to it. Just looking forward to it. It certainly makes me proud to see you guys out there, to see in general Bermudians,
Yeah.
period, testing themselves at the international level. I think it's so wonderful because, like you said, back in the day, these opportunities were not available. I mean,
Yeah.
you look now,
Time-
Bermudians are
time-
doing so much, but not necessarily previous years. That opportunity was there. So it's great to see
It's a rare occurrence. Like
athletes like yourselves taking advantage of that. That's a big jump.
Yep, it is.
But you get out there and then you're just happy to be there. And then, just being there isn't enough. You want to do well, not just for people back home, but for everybody. Like you don't want to feel like it's a disappointment. Some people are like, hey, I've been screaming at my TV why you messed up my Sunday watching every, like, yeah, we feel it too,
Of course.
So we want to do well. So you're never really content. You got to keep pushing, man.
What's the biggest challenge you faced, whether in a race or off? What's the biggest challenges you guys have encountered thus far?
Financially, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a small fish in a big pond, right? So financially is the struggle, like with the budget, so we're just possibilities. Money makes things easier, smoother, having options. So I would say that, and then just learning aside from financially, that was a huge learning curve for me. And just with guidance with Steven, and then with people that we speak to, we're lucky. A guy, Scott Porte, he's a legend, been racing since the 80s. You just take a little bit from everybody and just try to soak it up like a sponge, So you don't have to learn fully the hard way. You're learning the hard way because you're coming into something that's really, in my opinion, was out of my league, So you just try to be humble and just take as much in as you can.
Does that? You just said, you're a small fish in a big pond. You're up against some of the best in the world. So you would think of it as there's not really much expectations, on your team. Does that give you an advantage, or like it doesn't put pressure on you?
I think it fuels the fire.
Mm.
It fuels the fire, knowing you shouldn't even be any TV screen, and then we pop up, and it's like, where these guys? Yeah, I think that's wicked. I think that's always part of my life and his life. God's always had secondhand stuff, and just make it work.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like we've said to him, the first couple races that we did well and then end up breaking down, but we knew we could hang with them. We're like, you know what? They know we're here. We're here. Like they know it. But we got to put everything together, and then it's got to work. You got to finish a race, and we had a lot of bad luck in the first couple races of going in guarding mode and issues with the motor. This year it's been a lot better. So, and it shows that we're running up front with these guys. And like you said, these guys they get paid. A lot of these guys get paid to do this, right? They're in a boat almost every weekend. And we just
ones they do it. They run the boat like how we go Paradise Lakes. They're in their race boats. That's what they do.
And then a lot of the times when we were going to a race, that was our test and our race all in one. We don't have the time to get up and fly all the way up there to get in the boat and just go for a test run and come back. And it's time, expense. And so we're
for our first race, we had about 20 minutes in the boat.
Yep, that's it.
For clear water,
literally.
And also, you got other jobs, right? You got full-time jobs.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's not like this is full-time for you, right? You're racing professionally, but it's not full-time, or you're not getting paid like some of your...
He's lucky. He's cousins of his...
So how do you guys... Yeah.
I must have great lucky.
Yeah, that's really
I'm in business with my twin brother.
Okay.
So I got a stunt double, and he's got his...
My boss was part owner of the 21 Skater, and he used to race with me, so he knows all about racing. So he likes it just as much as we do. So
everyone,
thank God he's giving me the time and the opportunity to do this. So
I say it takes a village. It takes a village.
Yeah.
So if it's a race on this weekend, for example, when do you leave the island? When do you leave here?
Every race is different, but
mostly if it's a weekend, we'll leave either on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Depends on the flight. Some of these flights they mess you up. If we could just go to Miami every week, it's fine, and we could be testing by lunchtime.
Yep.
But how it is, sometimes you got to spend all day traveling to get to Florida. So that's a day going and a day going on the back end. So that's 2 days going.
Yep. And then normally you get in on a Wednesday to the event. I'm sorry, you get in on a Friday to the event. And then Saturday you can test, and then Sunday you race. And then we're back on the road Monday coming home.
And then back to work.
Back to work on Tuesday, Wednesday, depends.
Like you go in with Voldy and then you go back to work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes
you're working to race. That's the only reason you go to work.
Wow.
Try to.
But you know what that demonstrates to me? The level of passion and commitment.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I mean, even going up to the lakes, that was a 2.5 day drive.
2 days and 3 tires.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
At least it's a triple axle trailer, so we had 6 shots at it. But
wow. Wow, that's just amazing. I mean, I can just envision this. I mean, it's even more hectic than I thought.
You got to come to a race.
You got to, yeah.
I would love to. And hopefully one day
in some events, we actually race on a Saturday instead of the Sunday. And that's crazy because we can test in the morning. And then an hour later, you're turning around and get the boat back over to go race. In a way, it's nice. In a way, it's not, because then we have Sunday off. So we can actually be a fan and watch the big boys race, the other guys race.
You'd sit off at the tiki bar.
And have some drinks and watch them guys race. And then we're back on the road. Yeah, first thing Monday morning, get the boat back.
But if something breaks in the morning testing, and
it's a lot going on.
You got a window of nothing so you just go with the boats. Whatever they say, go in, they drop the flag.
Boats, it's like here, you got to get tech. They go through all your equipment. So that's all got to be done first on a Friday. You got to sign up. You got to get registered. You got to get your band, get the boat teched, get it inspected. They hook up into the computer to make sure everything's stocked. And so all that's first, and then we can go testing. And then once testing, we'll either race that day or the next day we'll race.
I hear you say you gotta get it wired up to the computer, check all the systems and whatnot.
Yeah.
The technology has certainly evolved.
Oh, it's big time, yeah.
And you've been at it for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
What's it been like for you to see where we are now?
Yeah.
Be an engine driver.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah. I mean, I got a screen in front of me, and I got to be looking at the screen. And something like when we first got in the boat, it's like the guy was saying, you can't, it's like, and then how am I going to see where I'm going? And it's like, no, you got a driver for that. I'm like, what? It's like, it's complicated. So yeah,
it's not a laptop.
Yeah,
all the time, but it's
so it's giving you the diagnostics.
Like I said, gone are the days of showing up with a boat with a couple sets of props. It's
and gauges that didn't work.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff.
They work. No, this is like tech.
So every time you go for a test or after a race, you come back and you can download all the information so you can see how well the boat accelerated, which is a big part of the racing now is like your accelerations out of the corners, in the corners, stuff like that, trying to keep your speed up. It's not so much top speed. It's just accelerations. So we have a plate on the back now to help lift the back of the boat up to accelerate us out of the corner. So it's a lot like we can go faster, but you need to slow down, take the corner, and accelerate out. And you got to work it out that if you accelerate good, and then you get your top speed just before you slow down kind of thing, and do it again. It's a lot of accelerating. And all that's, you got to try props, you got to try heights, you got to see what props running better and, you know, which one accelerated better. And obviously different tracks are different as well. So,
Course is constantly changing.
So what about the trim? Are you allowed to adjust the
Yep.
trim?
trim is
in mid-flight
always, you're
or
always
set?
trimming. You're always
You're
trimming.
always trimming.
Always, yeah. Now the heights, you can adjust your heights, but you can't do that on the fly. That's done before the race. You can drop them down if it's rougher, bring them up if it's calmer. That's set, but trim is all, you're all constantly on the trim, nonstop.
He'll lose feeling in his hand.
Yeah, I
like you're
get no-
constantly getting the maximum all the time.
Yep.
You know, so there's no set it and forget it when you're in the cockpit. It's constantly just trying to get the max out of it.
Actually, we talked a bit about the props earlier. Those props are pretty expensive, racing props, right? How much a racing prop can cost you today?
Six grand.
$6,000.
I mean, if you go buy a Mercury prop, that's 10 grand. But the DeWalt's that we are running and most people are running are 6.
And they may not work.
You have what? How many props you got?
Ah, price 5 sets.
5. We have 5 now, yeah. 5.
What?
Started out with just 2. You know, and that was, like you said, it wasn't much of a choice we had. You know, it was either this one, that one. So now it's kind of like, you know, we got choices, which is good because that just one little pitch out or one little whatever out on a
course of a run,
right?
a course of, you know,
A big
50
difference.
miles. That's where that gap comes from.
Mhm.
And you mentioned about the weight, right? You said you can set the weight and you can set it in any particular area.
And again, that
So what is that? That's to counter the what can you
Basically,
explain?
so he can trim to the maximum of the engine. He can have the boat trimmed so he's getting the most out of the motors and the boat's balanced instead of having to use the trim to scrub speed or get too flighty.
Mm.
and we have to add weight to the boat no matter what.
Mm.
So they're doing that to try and slow us down.
We got to add 200 pounds.
Yeah, it was at it's like
Yeah,
100. So it's 150 pounds in the boat no matter what. And it all depends on now where you put it. So if it's rough, you want to put more weight forward, keep the bow down, calm, it comes back. And, you know, it's so.
Also burning off fuel.
So, yeah. So that we got to think about at the end of the run, how much fuel you're going to have left over versus where you put your weight up front. You know, it's a lot to.
Some setups come in right away and some come to, like, their top speed might be on the 9th lap, like we did in Key West. We had this, like, the second, third fastest lap time, and it wasn't until the 9th lap. So the setup took a little too long to come in, and we had no seat time. That was, you know.
Yeah.
So
Is there a reward for you know, setting the fastest time? Do you got a little bonus for that? Or
it's more or less bragging rights.
bragging rights?
Only in Key West, if you're tied,
If you're tied, the fastest lap
the
time,
lap fastest lap time.
give them the win.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have 2 world champions, so
Okay. And the weight, what is it? Like a sandbag or
just lead
Yeah.
shot.
a lead?
Bags.
Okay.
Some people have little boxes built in the boat. We don't. We just put them in the bulkheads and move them around like that. There has been in the past, I think there is maybe one boat out there now. They actually have water tanks and they can transfer the water from one tank to the next. But also with that is once you put the water in, you cannot pick any water up to add weight or dump it. So you're stuck with that weight, that water in the tank, but you can move it back and forth if you want to.
Like in Bermuda, we'll run a ballast tank. So you have a scoop, you can pick it up and you can dump it. There's no rules or anything against it out there. It's the weight you go with, you got to come back with.
Well, gentlemen, time is pushing on a bit here, so I'm going to start wrapping it up. But before we go, any shout-outs, any special shout-outs you want to give?
All the sponsors.
Yeah, all the sponsors.
There you go. You can tell them.
Maxim, Grotto Bay,
Gilbert Lopes,
CTX, Gilbert Lopes.
GL Construction.
Yep.
He said Grotto Bay. It's hard.
You're there.
There's
There's
a
a
lot of-
lot. There's a lot of them. So yeah, and our friends and family, man, that come to the races and support us and help us, our team, to make it happen.
Right. I just
Yeah.
want to congratulate you
Thank you
guys
so
on
much.
your success this summer
Thank you,
Yeah.
fellas.
and this year, and wish you all the best in your endeavors going forward.
Sir.
Keep putting the 411 out there,
That's the plan.
and keeping us proud, making us all proud. Well, folks, unfortunately, that's all the time we've got for today. But before we go, I've got a few shout outs as well. I'd like to send a special shout out to our sponsors, our co-producers, and last but not least, I want to send a special shout out to you, our viewing audience, and look forward to seeing you again real soon right here on Up Close with yours truly, Colin Thompson.
This edition of Up Close with Colin Thompson is brought to you by Linda's Group of Companies. Why go anywhere else?